Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Today, we're heading to Peru, to the Nazca Desert.
Ah, the Nazca Lines. One of archaeology's greatest mysteries.
A mystery etched right into the earth. A canvas of vast desert.
With hundreds of colossal figures carved into it.
Animals, plants, you name it.
Geometric shapes, lines stretching for miles.
Some as long as 30 miles.
That's right.
So who created these masterpieces? And why?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
What makes these lines so fascinating is their sheer size. You can't even fully appreciate them from the ground.
Really?
It wasn't until the 1920s that we even started to get a glimpse of the puzzle.
How so?
An archaeologist, Toribio Mejia Zespi, was exploring the region, stumbled upon them almost by accident.
Wow, what a find.
And then in the 1930s, pilots flying over the area revealed the true scale of the Nazca Lines.
Imagine their surprise, seeing these massive figures emerge from the desert below.
Exactly. Suddenly, this hidden world came into focus. And get this, these lines are ancient.
Ancient, how old are we talking?
We're talking predating the Inca Empire by centuries. Some estimates put them at around 2,500 years old.
Wow, 2,500 years, that's mind-boggling.
It is. And the Nazca people, those who created them, they left behind virtually no written records.
So we're left with a giant puzzle, and most of the pieces are missing.
Pretty much.
So how do researchers even begin to approach a mystery like this?
Well, for almost a century now, they've been trying to crack the code, coming up with all sorts of theories, some practical, others, well...
Let's just say a little more out there.
You got it.
All right, so let's start with some of the more down-to-earth explanation.
Okay.
What about the idea that the Nazca Lines were some kind of astronomical calendar, marking solstices and equinoxes, aligning with the stars?
It's a captivating theory for sure. Imagine the Nazca people using these lines to track the heavens. Pretty romantic, right?
It is. But does it actually hold up?
It's a mixed bag. While some researchers have found alignments with certain celestial events, others argue it's just coincidence. I mean, we are talking about hundreds of geoglyphs here. All sorts of shapes.
It's hard to believe they were all for astronomical purposes.
Right.
So maybe not a giant star chart. But what about something even more vital in the desert?
Like water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Water is life in that region. What if the Nazca Lines were part of some elaborate ritual to bring rain?
Ah, yes, the water theory. It's a popular one. And there's actually some evidence to support it.
Oh.
Archaeologists have found offerings along the lines and at specific points. Smashed pottery, seashells.
Seashells in the middle of the desert.
Yep, seashells, which, symbolize water.
Yeah.
These offerings, they suggest that ceremonies were taking place and that water played a central role.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connection. But what about the shapes themselves? The spider, the monkey, the hummingbird. How do those fit into this water ritual theory?
Now that's where it gets more speculative. Some researchers suggest the geoglyphs represent deities or sacred animals associated with water, meant to be seen by the gods from above.
So the Nazca people were sending a message to the heavens.
Perhaps. Others propose the lines were paths for processions or pilgrimages to ceremonial sites, like giant open-air temples.
So maybe a combination of practical and symbolic, walking the lines as part of the ritual.
It's possible.
But there's another theory I'm curious about. Something about the lines being connected to a hidden water source.
Ah, you're thinking of David Johnson's work, an American scientist. He came up with a fascinating theory back in the 1990s.
What's the theory?
He proposed that the lines, particularly the geometric shapes, were more than just symbolic. He believed they were a map to a sophisticated underground water management system.
Okay, now that's intriguing. What led him to that conclusion?
Well, while exploring the Nazca region, he discovered these well-like structures. They're called puquios.
Puquios.
Basically, they're spiral staircases that lead down to these underground tunnels.
Tunnels?
And these tunnels, they're lined with waterproof clay. They channel water from aquifers and fault lines, bringing it to the surface for irrigation.
Whoa! So they were manipulating the desert landscape to create a sustainable water source. That's incredible.
It is, and some of these puquios are still in use today.
Wow. 2,500-year-old technology still working today.
Exactly. And Johnson, he noticed that many of the lines, especially those geometric ones, seem to align with these underground water channels.
So he thought the Nazca people were mapping out their hidden water network, ensuring its survival.
That's his theory.
That makes a lot of sense.
It does.
So maybe the Nazca Lines were both practical and symbolic,
Yeah.
a way to ensure survival in this harsh environment while also expressing their beliefs. their connection to the cosmos.
Possibly.
But we've got to talk about the more, let's say, unconventional theories, too. Like Eric von Daniken's ideas about
Alien landing strip.
alien landing strips. Now, that's what I call thinking outside the box. But seriously, did he have any evidence to back that up?
Well, he pointed to a few things, like the band of holes. Thousands of perfectly spaced holes in the desert. He suggested they could be a code, a signal, visible from space.
Okay, interesting. Anything else?
He also talked about Mount Palpa, a mountain whose flat top looks like it was cleanly sliced off.
I've seen pictures. It's pretty striking.
He speculated it could have been an alien mining operation.
Okay, alien mining operation, that's a new one.
But here's the thing, even without the alien theories, there's still a big question.
Which is?
How did these ancient people create such immense, precise designs? I mean, without modern technology, we're talking figures hundreds of feet long.
That's a good point. It really makes you wonder.
It does. The Nazca Lines challenge our assumptions about ancient civilizations. They force us to keep an open mind to all possibilities.
There's a possibility.
And there's another element to this mystery that makes things even more intriguing.
What's that?
The elongated skulls found in the Nazca region.
Elongated skulls. Now we're talking. This deep dive just keeps getting deeper.
It does.
What's the story with those?
These elongated skulls, they add a whole other layer to this Nazca mystery. Some of them are even missing a typical human skull feature.
Okay, now you've got to explain that one. What feature are we talking about?
The sagittal suture.
The sagittal suture.
It's that fibrous joint that runs along the top of our skulls.
Yeah, right.
Helps the skull expand during infancy. But finding skulls without it, well, it's pretty unusual.
I can imagine. So are you saying these elongated skulls, they're not human?
No, it's not that simple. Some of them do exhibit cranial deformation.
Right, like those societies that intentionally shape their skulls using boards and bindings.
Exactly. But there are a couple things that set these Nazca skulls apart.
Like what?
First, the level of elongation. It's far more extreme than what you'd see from artificial cranial deformation. And then there's that missing sagittal suture I mentioned. It's missing in some of them, not all.
So that begs the question, how did it happen? Was it a natural variation? A genetic anomaly?
Or something more extraordinary?
Go on. You know I love a good, more extraordinary theory.
Well, some folks, especially those who subscribe to the ancient astronaut theory, they suggest these skulls, with their unusual features, and DNA analysis hinting at non-native origins that they could belong to.
Don't leave me hanging.
Extraterrestrial beings.
Whoa! Alien skulls in Peru. Talk about mystery quest twist. But is there any real evidence for that?
Well, the scientific community isn't convinced. There's no conclusive proof linking these skulls to extraterrestrial life.
Right.
But their presence definitely adds to the intrigue. It makes you wonder, is there a connection between these skulls and the lines?
I mean, they were found in the same area, right? So could these elongated skulls hold the key to understanding the Nazca Lines?
Possibly. Some researchers believe they right.
Right.
Maybe the skulls belong to a special group, a priestly caste or something, and they held the knowledge of the lines.
Imagine that. The secrets of the Nazca Lines, passed down through generations, hidden in plain sight.
It's an interesting thought, but of course there's another possibility.
Which is?
What if the skulls are just a fascinating side note? A separate piece of Nazca culture that isn't directly related to the lines?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. The skulls were found in burial sites, not out on the plains with the lines.
Right. They could represent different aspects of Nazca culture, coexisting but not necessarily intertwined.
Okay, so the connection between the skulls and the lines is still up for debate.
For now, yeah.
But either way, they both add to the mystery.
Absolutely.
And speaking of mysteries, what about that sliced-off mountaintop? Mount Palpa. Von Daniken seemed pretty convinced it was the work of aliens. What's the real story there?
Mount Palpa. A geological puzzle. A flat top, almost as though it was precisely cut.
I know, it's hard to believe it's natural.
Geologists do think it was formed by natural erosion over millions of years.
Okay, but that doesn't explain everything, does it?
Well, no. The lack of debris around the mountain, you'd expect a lot of debris from that much erosion.
Right.
So even with the geological explanation, there's still a little mystery.
I like it. Mount Palpa. Another piece of the Nazca puzzle.
And speaking of pushing the boundaries of what we know, there's been a recent development that's completely changed how we understand the Nazca Lines.
Oh, what's that?
Artificial intelligence.
AI. How is AI involved?
Researchers have been using AI algorithms to analyze high-resolution satellite imagery of the Nazca region.
Then,
And they found over 300 new geoglyphs.
wait, they're still finding new Nazca Lines. That's amazing. But how were they missed for so long?
These newly discovered geoglyphs, they're smaller and less visible than the famous ones. Some are only visible from certain angles or under specific lighting conditions.
Ah, I see. So AI is giving us a whole new perspective on the Nazca Lines.
It is. And these smaller geoglyphs, they're often found near ancient trails and paths, and many depict human activities.
So they were like signposts for travelers.
Yeah.
Or maybe they were telling stories.
It's a fascinating possibility. It suggests the Nazca Lines weren't just for the gods in the sky, but also for communicating with each other, sharing stories, knowledge.
Maybe even warnings, like, beware of giant spider ahead.
Maybe.
Yeah, this is incredible. So thanks to AI, we're starting to see a much more complex picture of the Nazca Lines.
Absolutely.
But I imagine these lines, both the big ones and the newly discovered ones, they're incredibly fragile. What's being done to protect them?
Well, the Peruvian government and UNESCO, they're working together on conservation efforts, trying to limit human encroachment, control tourism, and raise awareness about the fragility of these ancient treasures.
It's so important to protect these sites, especially with climate change threatening these delicate desert ecosystems.
It is. Preserving the Nazca Lines, it's not just about protecting art, it's about safeguarding a piece of history, a window into a culture that continues to fascinate and inspire us.
I totally agree. But, we've been talking so much about theories and interpretations. What about the Nazca people themselves? Who were they beyond the lines? What was their life like?
That's a great question. And while we don't have written records, archaeologists have been able to piece together some insights into their society.
Really? What have they found?
Well, the picture they've painted is of a vibrant and sophisticated culture. Imagine a society deeply connected to their environment, where art and spirituality were completely intertwined.
I'm picturing it. Their art, their rituals, everything reflecting that connection to the desert.
Exactly. And they were incredibly skilled artisans, known for their intricate textiles and colorful ceramics.
Oh, I've seen pictures of those.
And their artwork often features motifs from nature: animals, plants, birds, the same patterns we see on a grand scale in the Nazca Lines.
So the lines weren't just some abstract idea. They were woven into every aspect of their culture.
Absolutely. And when you think about their environment, the arid desert where survival depended on water, it makes sense that their art and rituals would focus on these things, the things that were vital to their existence.
Like the offerings of smashed pottery and seashells we talked about earlier. A way to celebrate those precious water sources they'd found and mastered.
Right. And the Nazca people weren't just simple farmers either. They had a complex social structure, specialized craftspeople, priests, even political leaders.
So they weren't this primitive society we sometimes imagine when we think about ancient cultures. They were innovative, they adapted, and they created beauty and meaning in a really challenging landscape.
Exactly. They observed the stars, understood the cycles of nature, and they expressed their beliefs through art, rituals, and these monumental geoglyphs.
And it's amazing how each new discovery makes the story of the Nazca Lines even richer, more complex.
Absolutely. Like those AI-identified geoglyphs, they show us a whole new dimension of their culture.
Those smaller, less visible geoglyphs near the ancient trails. Imagine walking those trails, seeing those figures emerge from the desert floor. It would be like stepping back in time.
It would, and that's what's so powerful about archaeology, about exploring these mysteries. It's not just about uncovering facts, it's about connecting with the past, with the human stories that have shaped our world.
And the Nazca Lines, they tell an incredible story. A story of ingenuity, artistry, and a deep connection to the natural world.
They do.
It makes you wonder, what else will future generations uncover about the Nazca Lines? What other secrets are out there waiting to be revealed?
That's the beauty of it. The mystery remains. We may never have all the answers, but that's what keeps us exploring, asking questions, pushing the boundaries of what we know.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the mystery of the Nazca Lines, we're left with more questions than answers.
It wouldn't be a true mystery without them.
But one thing's for sure, the Nazca Lines are more than just lines in the sand.
They're a testament to human ingenuity, a testament to the enduring power of art and belief.
And a reminder that even in the face of the unknown, we humans, we seek to understand, to create, to leave our mark on the world.
And those marks, etched into that desert floor, they'll continue to inspire us for generations to come.
Until next time on Mystery Quest, keep exploring.